A Few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And Matt Hagen.
And we like to start off the show with some déjà vus where we discuss old loves, hates, and indifferences. And John?
Yeah, so we in the past we've been talking about artificial intelligence and whatnot, and Chat GPT has been all the rage on the internets. So I thought I'd go ahead and ask of it, what is one thing you love, one thing you hate, and one thing you are indifferent to? And they replied, very careful not to confuse me and let them think that they're human. They said, as a language model, I do not have personal feelings or emotions, but here are a few things that may be common. Love, learning new things and improving my abilities. Hate, inaccurate or misleading information. Indifferent, the color of the sky. I mean,
burn it. It's evil.
Those are all kind of things that I've said I hate and love. I haven't commented on the color of the sky, but
oh my gosh.
If the sky wasn't blue with white fluffy clouds, what could it be? I don't know.
White
I've never thought of
with
it any
blue
different.
fluffy clouds.
White would be too bright, right? Like, how much would you be squint? Like, I have this problem. I think my eyes are sensitive to the sun anyway, so I feel like I'm constantly squinting. So how much would I be squinting if the sky was white with blue contrasting?
a lot.
A lot.
But I don't have the transcript in front of me, but I did do some follow-up questions like what could happen to the sky to make it more interesting to you? And it didn't really answer that like as a personal, like, oh, I would find this more interesting, but it did say like, oh, there are some things that could make the sky different colors, like, and then like sunsets or like particulates in the sky and that kind of stuff, which, while technically accurate, was not really what I was trying to get at with it.
Thanks, Chat GPT.
Yep.
So it's kind of shifty in a way. It's not really
Shifty?
being real.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Deceptive.
Like I said,
playing dumb sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know. I say we drag it out into the street, curb stomp, because I feel like in the future we're all gonna look back and we're like, how naive we were to assume.
I'm picturing that scene in Office Space where they pull the printer out and, God damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Just with a bunch of servers. Line up the next server.
Do you think we'll have like a few good years or decades where like the AI is serving humanity and then it'll like get wise? Or do you think
I think
they'll
so.
be like pretty much immediate? Like,
no, I think there's a real possibility that Chat GPT leads to like this euphoric state of humanity where we're all living in harmony, and then it all goes south really, 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 really fast.
That sounds fast, though. I don't know if I want it to go that fast. Well, yeah, I'm freaked about it.
I've seen they have already like tricked it into being racist and sexist, though. Like, they basically, like, someone said, write me a program, like a Python program, to tell like what would be a good candidate for a scientist based on their race and gender. And then the code was literally like, if gender equals male and race equals white, then hire. Or something like that. Like it was like literally that bad.
Terrific.
I don't even know what to say to that. Like, where would that come from?
Now the internet for the last existence of the internet.
Okay.
Now I'm relaxed. Racism I can deal with. If that's as bad as it gets. All right. Well, let's start off with the show. Anyone have a passion to go first? If not, I shall do it.
Do it.
I will go first. Let's talk about these poor souls. Let's talk about clowns. Now, there's an indifference to me. I find them freaky as hell. You know, they're just off-putting. There's a lot of reasons where I'm like, you know, but at the same time, they're good people. They're trying to make us laugh and like, you know, bring some joy to us and stuff like that. So I am completely like kind of torn there. And I was wondering like what it is that kind of does it for me, that freaks me out, I guess, because I love big shoes. That's fun, right? But I think, and the red nose, Rudolph did it. You know, he made that shit work. But I think it comes down to the fucking face paint. You know, think about it. Like white face paint, black face paint, nobody likes, you know. But then all the other colors, you know, I think of like, you know, war paint. You know, you would wear that to fucking intimidate the other tribe and shit like that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm landing at it all. But clowns, what do you guys feel?
I never
Yeah.
thought of war paint before. So that's an interesting angle. I haven't seen a clown personally. I feel like in a lot of years,
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of years. Have you guys seen clowns recently? I don't know. I think clowns just I've never gone. I haven't gone to a circus in so long. So
Well, you remember that summer where clowns were just hanging out on the edges of parks with knives?
I didn't see a clown when that craze was going on though too. But that was all over the internet. People posting pictures of clowns and such. But yeah, I suppose that doesn't help the whole clown image, huh?
And people go to college for that. There's literally a clown college. And
Are you being
and
serious? Are there actual clown colleges where you can go to like learn clowning skills?
I think I've heard that so much, and I think I've heard it confirmed by people that are into clowns, like Steve-O. I think Steve-O wanted to be a clown. Jack Packard from Red Letter Media, he's totally into clowns, and I believe he dressed up as one. But yeah, there's just these people that just like we think they're fun and blah blah blah. But I'm like, I think it was fun back in the day, maybe. I don't know. To me, I don't really, yeah, I don't like it.
Isn't there like a whole like philosophy behind clowning and like it aren't like different like the face paint like really represents something? Like if you have like this shape eyes, it means that you're this kind of clown and you know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's like three types.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what
I
they're
feel like
called
Yeah.
though.
the show Baskets, I think, had a number of takes on the type of clown that you are and the type of nose that you wear and the paint that you wear and such. But I think ultimately, I think the 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 indifference to clowning or the off-putting nature of being a clown is that you are like wearing a mask and you are cheerful and joyful and you're in people's faces. And I think it's really off-putting. Like, I don't know you, man. You're wearing some sort of disguise. Get away from me. I don't trust you. I just think there's just like some sort of inherent nature in humans that says, I don't trust this person because I can't see their face, you know?
But what made, I mean, that's what I'm getting at. Like back in the day, I'm sure it was the funniest fucking thing. But I don't see that nowadays. But then there are still people that are into clowns. Fucking Ronald McDonald is the most popular clown by far. We
Yeah,
still
it
eat
just
his
makes me think
burgers.
of that Vandal song. Do you know the one, Matt, from the original country tunes?
What's the song called?
Um, I don't know, something about like I love clowns. It's like
I,
it goes like clowns are neato, clowns are fun, clowns are
yeah.
loved by everyone.
Yeah, sure. And that's an actual country song too, right?
No, they're all
No.
original country songs by the
Oh,
Vandals.
it's been a long time since I've heard that album.
Here's some clowns I really love. Bozo, Scoopy, Rusty Nail. And here's a clown I really hate. Ronald McDonald. He's only in it for the burgers, and that's not very funny.
I remember this now. Yeah.
That's sweet.
That sparked something in the back of my brain. That was good. I should listen to that album. I should listen to all Vandals albums ever. But
True.
clowns, I am
Yeah,
indifferent
but
as
you're a
well.
long way till you get to V, I suppose.
You know, it's funny. One Halloween when I was a wee lad, I'm thinking like 4, 5, 6 range. My mom, she liked to make homemade costumes. So like one year I was Slimer. There was that Ghostbusters craze, so she made me this little Slimer costume. But one year
AKA
I was
Onion Head,
Onion Head. What is that?
different name for Slimer.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay,
From where? Germany?
I don't know.
Onion Head.
I'll,
But
I'll, that'll be a deja vu next week.
okay. So one year I was a full blown clown, and then they would take you to the high school, and then they would you know, it was a competition, so all the kids would come and they would walk along this path in a big circle, and there's parents all sitting out in the crowd, and then they would judge these kids on their costumes. But one year I was a clown, and I think one year I like won this competition, or I came in second place or something. I don't know. I got some sort of prize, and I don't know if it was the Slimer costume or the clown. I don't know. But ever since then, I've had an affinity for clowns, and I love clowns. And yes, I still have that costume, and I put it on occasionally. And even though it doesn't fit, I still love it. But no,
Are you
I don't,
clowning
I
us
don't,
right now?
I don't hate clowns, but I see why some people would hate clowns. Sure.
I mean, John Wayne Gacy certainly didn't help their cause.
There's so many there's so many people that clowns that don't help. You know, it Pennywise, right? The Joker. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I watched the movie and I always hope that this was right. I actually forgot to look this up. But in the movie Shakes the Clown with Bobcat Goldthwait, he plays an alcoholic clown. But in the movie, clowns and mimes hate each other and they beat each other up on sight. It'd be so good if that was true.
I've never seen that movie. Is that pretty good?
Yeah,
Worth
for sure.
watch? Or any clowns that actually help the clown image as opposed to hurting the clown image? I can't name one clown in the modern times. I mean, you go back to Bozo, and I think a lot of people have an affinity for Bozo and the Bozo Show. I never saw the Bozo Show. I don't know what it was all about, but some people love the Bozo Show.
Oh, Insane Clown Posse, of course.
Yeah, actually, good point. Good point.
Yeah. It's clowning's biggest champions these days. What's more off-putting, a clown or a ventriloquist dummy?
A clown. A ventriloquist, he's got jokes. Clowns, okay, clowns aren't really that funny to me. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like, oh, water in the face, like yawn, seen it. I could do that myself, you know, but with like ventriloquism, they got jokes and shit.
What about when they're all getting into that car?
Ooh, you had to pull that one out. Yeah,
all 30 of them fitting into a VW bug.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's nice that those people really want to just make people laugh and give them joy and stuff. But it's what a life. I wish I could interview a clown. Like, what happened? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to put yourself through this shit, this hell all your life?
Because I'm a manic depressive and I need something on the other side of my life. I need to pretend I'm an extrovert. I need to make people happy so that the other side of my life won't seem so bleak. I mean, there's that whole thing about clowns crying in their non-clowning time,
tears
right?
of a clown.
Or so
right.
you have comedians, and you got this like Robin Williams is a great example of it. A guy who's just manic and in your face and 100 jokes a minute and just constantly manic. And then the other side of him, I mean, he dealt with depression and he was in and out of some mental hospitals, some rehab facilities. I don't know specifics on any of that, but there's another whole life to him that none of us really saw. There's only rumors as to what was going on, but and that obviously led to a suicide. But I think that's really common in a lot of people. I mean, you kind of see the stuff that Jim Carrey's gone through over his life. That's been pretty public. So I don't know where I'm going with all this, but it's an interesting aspect to it. The crying clown.
Yeah, isn't that doesn't that come from a particular story or whatever it was where like a guy shows up at the to a doctor or whatever, and he's like, I'm extremely depressed. I want to kill myself. I'm fucking, everything's bleak. He's like, oh, well, buck up. Shakes the clown is in town. And he's like, but doctor, I am Shakes.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I think that's what, yeah, Jesus Christ. Thanks, Matt. Now I just hate clowns. Their life sucks.
No, you have to have empathy for clowns now because they are dealing with shit. All of them. Every single clown is dealing with shit.
Oh, all right. Well, moving on to funnier pastures.
Funnier than clowns.
Yeah,
I
well,
think that's
yeah,
possible.
we can do it. We can do it.
All right, let me hit on my hate for the week.
Whoa.
I want to talk about low quality production in some music I've been hearing. So I just made my way through the Bs. I think I've hit all the B bands that I want to listen to. Well, I guess I didn't hit the Backstreet Boys or anything yet, but I hit all the Bs, and I hit a couple of Bs that I feel like I should like these bands, but something about the low quality production just does not let me like them. I'm talking about Black Flag and the Birthday Party specifically, although the Bauhaus is another one that's kind of like that, not quite as bad, but there's just something about and Black Flag and the Birthday Party are both early 80s. Bauhaus is kind of early 80s-ish too, so it's kind of weird. I don't know if that was a purposeful thing, but there's something very flat about the way their music sounds. There's no highs and lows. It's just really kind of quiet and flat, and it just kind of coasts. Silence. There's no low points and high points. It's just. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know what you mean. I feel like it works better for it works. I don't mind it with Black Flag as much, but I agree. I feel like I should like the Birthday Party, and I just haven't been able to get into them for some reason. And you might be right on why, because especially just knowing Nick Cave's later stuff, you're kind of have an idea, and then you're like, oh wow, he was in a punkish band, in the 80s. This sounds awesome. And then I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's really chaotic, and it's kind of jazzy and very strange. And I can hear some of those elements, but I can't fully absorb the music because of the low quality. And I mean, I think Jimi Hendrix to me is a good one too. Jimi Hendrix to me has always just been kind of flat. I don't really get the highs and lows out of Jimi Hendrix the way some people do. Maybe it's just my ears, but I think it's the production. A couple other bands, Echo and the Bunnymen, Jesus and Mary Chain. These are both 80s bands, so a lot of this stems back to the 80s. But I mean, there's bands that sound fully realized with full production from the era. I mean, go back to your Led Zeppelins, Vince, Doors, Sex Pistols, Ramones. All these bands, they have better production, and even though it sounds kind of grungy, there you get the highs and lows. You get that range going on. So just something that I've noticed, and it bothers me because I feel like I should like these bands, but I can't. I find it impossible.
Um, Low quality. I don't know if I have an ear for that. I mean, I know one that was overproduced. Be Here Now by Oasis. So maybe I can relate. I mean, that's sort of a different case of that. But I don't know. Is it the band's choice to record that way? Was it a certain producer that recorded all of them? What? I don't know. I don't know how it
It's
happens.
probably technical limitations, just budget, money, but I don't know exactly. I don't know how the studios are set up or who was producing them or what kind of equipment they had. But again,
Matt, are
Go
there
ahead.
any bands that you like despite their low quality production value?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are. Uh, I wrote down like Green Day's early albums. If you go back and listen to them, they're very low quality, but that's their sound, you know. There's something to that. It just fits that early Green Day era. I can't put my finger on it exactly, but it just works. Something like Joy Division would be a good one. They've kind of got a similar vibe, but again, that's their sound, and it just kind of works. The
Yeah, or like
Stooges maybe are one where it's kind of low quality. It's pretty low quality, but that's their sound. I just keep going back to I can't put my finger on what exactly it is.
or like Moldy Peaches were someone who I was thinking of who are like purposely lo-fi or whatever. And like I still like their music a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point of the lo-fi stuff. Oh man, now I can't remember, but there was a band that I did like, and it was, yeah, it seemed very much on purpose. Um, and I also think that I probably don't listen to as much music as you guys. I think, yeah, that's why I can't really put my 2 cents in too much. I'm really just a pop boy.
Pop Boy, Pop
Yeah.
Boy, and Pink Floyd. That's pop. That's pop.
That was pretty close to pop in its day, I'm sure, in some way, right?
Well, I've never really given Oasis a chance, so maybe I will when I get to the O's, a decade from now.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't listen to enough. But
Mhm.
okay, but those bands that you something house, whatever it was.
Boss, yeah.
Yeah. Uh that's every album, or they've only had one album? What do you mean?
Well, that's pretty much every album,
Oh,
especially
really?
with Black Flag. Like that, every Black Flag album has that similar flatness. I don't know any other way to describe it than it's just flat. It's just flat, and it's just kind of uninspired the way it sounds.
Shit. I
So,
should have listened. I didn't
oh,
do any
that's
of the
fine.
research for that. Yeah, it sucks.
No big
Uh
deal. We can make that a future
ah.
reference.
I had an idea of like if one of us says a really bad joke or something like that, that should be called a fugitive or something, where we're not allowed to say it ever again or something.
That's
I don't know because
unbearable.
there's been a
Terrible.
couple of stinkeroos on this thing. So
It's
I
not going to
don't
win a gold medal, I'll tell you that.
a Goldilock medal.
all right, should we move on?
Sure, move on.
Sure, I'll talk about my love, um, which is the book trilogy. It's either called Remembrance of Earth's Past for the name of the series, but I think more people know it as The Three Body Problem just because that's the name of the first book. Um, but it's written by a Chinese author whose name I'll probably butcher. It's like Lu Cizin or something like that. And it basically starts in like the Cultural Revolution era in China, and it kind of goes through like humans first communicating with like an alien civilization, and then what happens for basically after that. Um, I won't go too much into the plot of it, but I do like what I really love about it is like one of the concepts it came out with. So have you guys ever heard of like the Drake equation in regards to extraterrestrial life? It's basically like looking at all these factors like how many how many stars are there in a galaxy and how many galaxies are there and how many planets are around a star and how long should a civilization last and like all this stuff and trying to figure out like what are the odds that there's other intelligent life out there. And then there's like other like related concepts like the Fermi paradox is like okay there's like a shit ton of planets out there like why don't we see any signs of life, and there's all these theories as to why that might be. So there's things like the zoo hypothesis, whereas like there's life out there, but they're just basically like quarantining the Earth off as a zoo, and they're not making themselves known to us, but we're like an attraction for them to just visit. Or there's
Kind of the craziest one, right? One of the
yeah,
crazier ones.
there's
This
the
is
great
every Tub Ring album
yeah, exactly.
you're listing here as well.
Yep. There's the great filter, which is the idea that somewhere along the line, it's really hard to go from like no life on a planet to um, basically an intelligent species capable of communicating with other planets. And like, we don't know where the filter is. Like, is it really hard for just like multicellular life to grow and we're like past the filter on our planet? Or is there something in front of us that's just going to be really hard that might like we might still get filtered out?
So does the book series touch on all of these things?
No, not really, but
Okay.
they actually invent a new one, which has now become part of like the overall discussion of this, called the dark forest. And that's the idea that like the universe is a dark forest where all the hunters know that there's other hunters out there, so they're just gonna like stay as quiet as possible so as to themselves not be hunted. So every time like someone like some new civilization, if they're dumb enough to make themselves known, they just get immediately like extinguished and just like um snuffed out of existence basically. So um the the second book, well, I guess the second and third books really like go into those concepts a lot, like how is that happening, and what are like some of the civilizations who happen to stay quiet, not make themselves known, but still like gain intelligence and technology and stuff. Like what are they kind of up to these days? And I read the series, I don't know, like the beginning of last year, I think, and it like I just kind of think of stuff from these books more than any other books I've read in a long time, even now.
Touches on all
Especially
those sci-fi loves, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
love me some good sci-fi. Well, I did not read the book series in preparation for this
What? I give you two
podcast.
days.
I read the Wikipedia on the plot. Seems pretty dense. Seems very dense, and it's
Yeah,
yes.
for
also
sure.
Holy shit. Talk about a
uh,
dark forest.
yeah, no kidding. But yeah, very very intriguing. I like the ideas. Go ahead, Vince.
I think I just read about the first book, and that was a lot to take in. But really, it's like, this was going to be a topic, like the fucking, the government, like, holy shit, yeah, we know about these things. Check out this video, and we've seen these spaceships or whatever, do this thing for 30 days straight or something like that,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, like the UAPs or whatever they are now.
Is it UAPs? Unidentified aerial.
Phenomenon.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So wait, does how wait. So with that we know, how many of those theories are like getting the bigger push now, where they're like, oh, we were right. This theory was right about, life on other somewhere
I,
else.
I would think the most logical, I mean, everybody tries to make up these big, wild conspiracy type things, or they try to push whatever's the coolest sounding one, but it's always kind of the most logical. So what is the most logical theory? John, do you have an opinion on that?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm afraid it's the great filter, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
um, there's just like maybe there's bacterial life everywhere and that's it. Or yeah, the scarier thing is that we're not even past it, that like, oh, like we'll just never there's just never really going to be a good way to travel through the stars where like just the speed of light limits and all that stuff are just going to be too much to make it worth trying to branch out.
Totally agree. See, I've read up on all these theories, but I always kind of confuse which one goes with which exactly. So for some reason in my brain, I cannot remember which one fits exactly. But yeah, I just think the universe is incredibly large. We can't even comprehend how large our galaxy is, let alone our universe. So it is what it is, Vince.
I'm sure the aliens are like, we can't be interacting with a planet that would allow a species to say it is what it is.
I had to get one in during this episode. That felt like a good time.
Oh man. No, that's a future something. I want to talk more about that shit, but the books sound awesome. They really like everything's fucking laid out. Like if humans knew about this, how would they interact? Would they betray each other? And yeah, like there was a lot, wasn't there like a lot of corporate espionage kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. And like, um, half the humans siding with the aliens and like that kind of stuff. And like, yeah. Um, there's actually going to be I think there's already like a Chinese live action series and an animated series, but now there's going to be like an American series based on this trilogy by one of the major streaming ones. I can't remember. It's either like Amazon or Netflix or someone.
Cool. Cool. That's going to be a Chinese production
No,
or
this one will be American.
okay.
And John, I have to throw this. I can't remember the last time I read a fiction. The last whatever books, and I rarely read, but they've all been nonfiction. Yeah. So, but actually, no, it's all real, man. They're fucking out there.
Yeah.
I'm so giddy, or I think I am giddy. I'm more like, oh my god, they're here to save us from the evil AI.
You don't think they're all AIs?
No, yeah, they took off their masks. They're like, no.
I would have
right.
gotten away with it too. If it weren't for you meddling humans.
That's what we do. All right, should we move on to me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's go into my love. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I don't want to talk about my fucking hate yet. So dodgeball. Dodgeball, man. Out of all the sports I've played, and I've played a lot, I've enjoyed them. I could be successful, I think I'm naturally athletic. Naturally athletic. And but out of all the sports, on all the rules, because I do get irritated by rules quite a bit, dodgeball is just free. It's free flowing. And whether you're on offense or defense, whether you're throwing it or you're dodging it, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, take it away, guys.
When's the last time you played dodgeball?
I think high school. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's not like you're in like an adult dodgeball league or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah, by the way, we should talk about that. That fucking grown ass men can do that. Did you see that? Have you seen any of that?
I think I've seen that a little bit. Have you looked to see if there are leagues? Are you opposed to adult leagues or what?
I just didn't know that was an option, Like really, like could you imagine that? Like making, well, I don't know if they make sponsors or anything like that. It's still very underground, I think. The cops show up, they take off.
You'll have like, so I mean, I have friends who have been in like adult kickball leagues,
Yeah.
and I know they had like, Jim's Bar would sponsor their team or something like that. Just like a really hyper local sponsor, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like another takeoff on like you hear about softball leagues. That's a big Wisconsin thing. There's always softball leagues or dart leagues or whatever. So why not kickball, dodgeball? But I suppose, well, it's all about the popularity, right? But I agree. I love dodgeball, and actually, I take my kids to wrestling practice. They're doing wrestling right now, and they're in second grade, so they like to keep things free and fun. So they end up playing dodgeball a little bit. So I end up watching them play dodgeball, and I really have this desire to get in there and just chuck a dodgeball at some second grader's head. something about it. But yeah, like I don't know if Green Bay area has a dodgeball league, but it kind of makes me want to look to see what that's all about if there is one.
What about you, John? Would you join the
So I'd be much more likely to enjoy it now when I was of an age where people were playing dodgeball. I was not exactly what one would call an athlete. So I don't think I enjoyed it much back then.
hmm, were yeah? Like you didn't
Yeah,
like to throw? What was worse, throwing or dodging?
I mean,
getting
obviously
pelted, right?
dodging is worse, but I
Yeah.
wasn't too great at throwing either.
I enjoyed a good dodge. I would even admire if I like missed an opponent and they just did something cool. I'm like, fuck yeah, man. It's awesome.
I
Yeah.
have this memory of it was maybe like fifth or sixth grade, but so you would play dodgeball and you'd have the two different teams, right? Sometimes dodgeball just it's everybody against everybody, but you got the two different teams, and I was the last one left against like 10 or 12 other guys over there, and I have this memory of just dodging ball after ball after ball and hanging in there for quite a while and getting a couple kids out before I finally got out. But just putting up the fight, man. And I actually had one that I spread my legs to get it under just under my ball sack, and it did just get under my ball sack. So that was good. That was good.
Heckin' Neo over here.
But like all the cool stuff of like, yeah, being that last person, and then if you catch their ball, they're out, but then other people that were out get to
Yeah.
join in. That's always a lot of fun. Dang. And I never watched the movie. Did it do it justice?
You never saw the movie? That's surprising. You should check it out. It's good. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah. So
wouldn't say it.
what would you say you recollect about that movie, Matt?
You're smiling at me. I don't know what you're going for here.
I'm just wondering if you have any sort of movie recollection about it.
Oh, okay.
Oh
No,
man,
I don't. I
this
don't
AI
remember.
doesn't like that reference.
I do not remember a thing. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Stuff like that.
Oh, the one
The
thing I will
five
add.
Ds of dodgeball.
Oh, yeah. Never saw it. Go on, Justin Long,
Watch
right?
it. Watch it. Watch it.
Okay. All right.
Especially if you love dodgeball. Come on. What are you doing?
There is an altered version of dodgeball out there. I don't know if you've seen this. And this, I don't know. I it made it look sillier. But everyone's on trampolines, and there's like trampolines on the wall, so you like jump and like dodge that way. It looks cool, but at the same time, the most silliest thing. It's very weird.
Hmm.
Gilding the lily.
Your coordination would have to ramp up exponentially to do that, I would assume. So is it all like you're standing on a trampoline as well as they're on the sides and everything?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of squared out, kind of like if you go to Action City now, they have like a
Right.
floor, but they're all like tiny trampolines, like a grid. Yeah.
Yeah, I would try that. Hell yeah.
What sucks is that I would just be in fear of my ankle going to shit on one of those. So I would want to
Oh,
do the classic dodgeball. Yeah.
you got a good 8 years now until
I
you're.
was gonna just say, did that just happen a month ago or so?
Oh man. Dodgeball. Moving
Dodgeball.
on.
That's to me. That's to me. What the heck? What's my indifference this week? I'm gonna do that. Um, okay, just something I want to talk about. It's not really an indifference at all, but it just kind of blows my mind the way, for instance, someone can solve a Rubik's Cube in a matter of seconds, or somebody is so good at an Etch-a-Sketch that they can draw incredible things out of an Etch-a-Sketch. And well, going back to the Rubik's Cube thing, I've actually seen a video like how do people solve this within seconds? And I've seen a couple YouTube videos. Not that I'm even going to try to solve this thing, but I just want to see what the hell's the theory behind this. I feel like I understand the core concept, but I don't understand how somebody could look at a Rubik's Cube and figure this out. So it's more of there's just unknown things that people are super ridiculously good at that I have no comprehension of how they can do it. Go ahead. Any comments?
I just like the fact that this is a clear reaction to the very heavy subject matter of the previous episode.
No, I wasn't thinking about that at all, actually. But
What about that Rubik's Cube? Actually, I thought that's been not debunked, but like basically there's a formula to it. Like as soon as
yeah, for sure. Like I used to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube in, minutes.
Nice.
And I can't anymore because I forgot all the algorithms. But yeah, it was basically like I would do like the top side just, through my brain. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, if you want to move this color here, go through this pattern and it'll get there without messing anything else up. And you just kind of keep going through all those patterns till it's completely solved. So, and then, yeah, it is funny though, like with the really fast people, it's like, oh yeah, you got to get like this brand of Rubik's Cube because it glides easier than
all
like,
right.
hell yeah.
like the mechanics of the cube start to become the limiting factor.
That's crazy. And there's like contests, right? Like at least back in the day, I've heard about them. Yeah. John, you could have went in there. I feel like you're so talented, John.
Well,
But you don't believe in yourself.
This is a whole other thing where, like I love being like a jack of all trades, but I never want to like dedicate the time to get great at anything. Like I like really like, okay, I know enough to like do this thing poorly. Let's move on to the next thing. I was thinking that like with speed running too, it's like the people who like, I'm gonna just play this game 8 hours a day for years and like become number one at it. And I'm like, cool, but I want to play other games or do other things.
It's kind of, I don't know, going back to Dodgeball. I mean, what if they're like, dude, you think you could just hop on this thing without years and years of dodgeballing?
Yeah. Is that part of like you always hear addictive personality? Is that an addictive personality? Just finding something that you're good at and just repeating it until you're great at it, like a world-class person. And it could be anything. I think there's maybe something to that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a certain kind of personality. I'd struggle to use the word addictive because that usually, like, addiction usually implies it's like somehow hurting you.
Well, I think addictive can be
but
applied here because you find this addictive. Whatever it is, you find it addictive. But yeah, I mean, usually it has its negative connotations, gambling or drinking or whatever. But I've never thought of it in those terms. So
yeah.
Didn't the AI say like, it is what it is implies that there's a lack of ambition to change anything?
Yeah.
And to truly apply yourself.
Well, not that there's a lack of ambition, but you perceive that there's no reason to even discuss or attempt to change anything because there's no changing it. It's impossible.
Oh man.
Which is that right or wrong? I don't know.
For the listener, we asked ChatGPT about the phrase "it was what it is" earlier, and it had some opinions.
Yeah, it actually wrote dialogue for us between Matt and I and John. John's.
I see both sides.
I see both sides.
That's great.
That's all you had to say. I see both sides.
Okay, well, let's get back to the whole
let's get back
thing. Rubik's Cube.
You started that. I don't know why you did that.
So you were like, I'm not even indifferent. What else though besides the Rubik's Cube? Did you?
Oh, I said Etch-a-Sketch came to mind, like how somebody can coordinate both their hands to actually be good at drawing with an Etch-a-Sketch. That is an actual thing. I've seen it. Uh, I don't know what else off the top of my head, but just certain things just kind of boggles my mind as to how you would get so good at it and why would you get so good at it. And I think it does come to that certain personality, but I've never had any interest in in trying to get super good at something as trivial as the Etch a Sketch, you know?
So do you find like becoming super good at drawing on the Etch a Sketch more trivial than becoming like the best 400-meter runner in the world?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to put some more thought into that, but I think it's more accepted in society to be fast and be good at the 400-meter, you know?
Mhm.
There is more accepted competitions for such a thing and such, but I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you.
I would love
But
that. They're
but
like,
you're right. It does kind of fit in the same category. You're right though.
I would love it if they're like, that's Usain Bolt. Like, who? The Rubik's Cube champion. Well, the other
Well,
thing, okay, Matt, this brings up possibly a whole nother topic for later. How do you feel about the Guinness Book of World Records then?
that's okay. Good one. That is a really good one because that's full of all of this type of stuff, right? I think it's a cool novelty, and to get yourself into the Guinness Book of World Records, I think that would be an incredible accomplishment. But I've never had a desire to read that book, or is it even a book? I don't know. Do they put one out every year? Uh,
And
I've
like some
never.
of them are like they're not necessarily even skills or accomplishments. It's like you're willing to put up with something for the longest, like the guy with the longest fingernails and like that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah,
Smashing 500 walnuts with your forehead in under a minute or something like that. You're like, what?
or or just something stupid like somebody made the largest pepperoni pizza in the world. Well, I'm gonna make the largest pineapple pizza in the world, and I'm gonna get into the book. You know, it's just dumb
It
stuff.
wouldn't sell. It wouldn't sell. Guinness are like, people don't like pineapple.
it's very controversial.
Yeah.
Actually, going back to your question, John, because I did want to put a little more thought into that. I think doing the 400-meter, I would, I think I would do that first because you get exercise. There's some sort of benefit to doing the 400-meter as opposed to the Rubik's Cube or whatever else you want to put in there. So if I was forced to do one or the other, it would be the 400-meter.
Wow. Okay.
I'll take the cube.
I'd do the sketch. I'd
Sketch.
make some art for my sweetie.
For your sweetie. All right.
Yeah.
And then she would shake it and it's gone. Oh, I wonder if there's some way you can lock an Etch a Sketch, like these people that are really good. There's some sort of locking mechanism so that you can't shake it and it disappears.
Oh, I bet. Like
Whoa.
just like disassemble the knobs or something. Oh yeah, but no, it's shaking it. Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
That's like
Mm.
when you glue your puzzle together after completing it or
I was
something.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Ah.
Yes.
Isn't there
Yes.
like a Buddhist art form, like where they do like the sand mandalas or whatever they're called, where you basically like put different colors, pieces of sand in like a pattern, and like the whole point is you just immediately like mix it up at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. That's
What
crazy.
is the point of that?
So wait, that's the opposite then. I wonder how those Buddhists feel about the glued together jigsaw puzzle.
I bet they're not fans.
Yeah. They're like, get that shit out of my fucking face. I know we're
It's
usually
attachment, right?
peaceful. Yeah, that's true. Holy shit. All right, moving on.
Yes.
Is it me now?
It is
I think
you.
so, yeah.
I'll go with my indifference, which is nepotism in show business.
Ooh.
Like,
Whoa.
um, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's obviously a real thing, and a lot of people are getting shots who wouldn't get shots if they didn't have like famous family members and stuff.
Just to be clear, you mean opportunities and not like COVID shots, right?
Yeah, they're getting opportunities. Ops, I should say. That's less confusing, right? Um, and then, but like, I don't know, these days, like, are they really sticking around if they don't have like the talent or at least like the charisma or whatnot. Um, and like, yeah, it does suck that like there's way more talented people who should be getting opportunities, but like, how do you even know like out of everyone who's like clamoring for these chances, like I don't know who to pick. You know what I mean? Like I've hired people for like corporate jobs and I don't know who to hire. Like it's really hard. Like I don't know.
So you
At
think
least
it's easier with just hiring someone's family member?
no, I'm not trying to justify like it's okay just hire someone's family member, but um it it's hard to be like so blown away by like an audition or like an interview or something to override like, well, I know like this person's dad is really talented. Maybe they've got the genes. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think nepotism in show business really bothers me too much because there's nepotism all over. This is
Oh,
nothing
say it,
new.
say it, say the words.
Say the words.
The five
This
words.
this is nothing new. This is nothing. No, it's four. So c'est la vie.
Oh my gosh, that's so
So
lovely. I love that word.
yeah, this doesn't really bother me. I mean, occasionally I'll hear so and so's kid got this acting gig, and I'll kind of roll my eyes or something a little bit. But ultimately, this stuff doesn't bother me. And you're right. I mean, they have to have talent to stick around, and it does suck because there's lots of talented actors and whatnot, or lots of talented people in any industry that could fill this role. But but the nepotism is real, and you're right. It does make things easier. Like if you're hiring an actor and Tom Hanks's kid, I don't know, that's the first one that came to mind. Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks's kid, Tom says, "Yeah, my kid can act," or whatever the heck it is, and okay, good enough for us, Tom. And and if the kid really can't act at all, you can, let him go after a week if that's really what it comes to, and break the news to Tom Hanks somehow. Sorry, Tom, we had to let your kid go, but yeah, this stuff really doesn't bother me.
um, how about the what's the thing? Oh God.
Oh, so sleepy.
I I kind of admire the like the Kate Hudsons where they could have said Kate, I'm Kate Russell or I'm Kate Hahn,
Mhm.
Change the
I like
last
that.
name.
Yeah.
There's a number of them that dropped the Coppola name, right? Like Nick Cage
Yeah.
is one, and Jason Schwartzman is part of that family, I
Yeah.
think. But even though they dropped the Coppola name, I assume they both had a Coppola name, but they got their opportunity somewhere, right? Yeah. It is still nepotism, I would assume.
Yeah, because I
I
mean, if
think
you're,
they yeah, go ahead.
I think if you're like a film creator and like, um, I think I have a lot of bigger chance of getting my thing made if there's a Coppola kid in it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Money's behind that. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of any bad Nepo babies, as they're called. Are there? Can you name any?
I'm sure that there's plenty of them, but they just kind of disappear after a while.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
got something in a way. Does James Franco's brother count?
I think he's fine.
What?
What
Dave,
what have you
Dave
not liked him
Franco.
in?
Everything,
Yeah.
everywhere, all at
All at
once.
once.
I don't remember him being in that.
I'm like, it was hard for me to accept James, but you, Dave, um,
I can't
yeah,
think of a bad example off the top.
Neighbors, was he in that?
Yes, he was in
yes,
Neighbors.
yeah, yeah.
That was a fine role for him.
Yeah, it was a fine role. So, Vince, you're indifferent as well, would you say?
I guess I'll have to because I don't. Yeah, I mean, this is very much 5 words for me. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's been around for fucking ever. Yeah, I think we stated it all. if they're good, they stick around, and it's great. Like Nick Cage, that's awesome. Thank you. At least he got his foot in the door. Maybe people would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know? Yeah.
What are you doing putting your foot in this door? It's supposed to be closed in your
And it's
face.
just about to be closed. Your foot's in the way.
Moving on
Holy
to
shit.
Vince.
Oh, okay. Let's get into my seething hate.
Oh
Well, it's not
boy.
bad. It's not that bad.
Buckle up.
It's not that bad. Simply simpler times. Music, something online, comments will be like, I love this. Simpler times. They always people seem to yearn for the stuff from their past. They get nostalgia and they're like, oh, these were simpler times. But it's mostly just like, well, you were young and you didn't know of these things. Like, and your brain doesn't even fully develop till you're 25, but you got people looking back like, oh man, to be like that again. But like, you didn't pay attention to fucking politics. You didn't have to, if anything, your parents had to deal with it and they kind of, protected you from some shit. It's just always weird that all these people want to go back to this time. I happen to think things are better as it's constant growing pains, it's such a weird concept to like, oh, the 50s, like, well, I wouldn't want to go to the fucking 50s, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that wouldn't want to go back to the fucking 50s or even the 80s. The shit was fucked up. There's more people around and shit. I don't know. It always seems very conservative, very just like, I don't like the fact that these people have rights now or something like that, or it just comes off that way. I'm sure it isn't, but it's always kind of, it's like mentally I stub my toe every time I see someone say like, oh, simpler times. I don't know. I don't like it.
Don't be so sure that it isn't, Vince, but I think there's I don't think it's just necessarily going back to being a child. I think there's plenty of 80-year-olds that would consider, when they were 40, simpler times. 40 years ago, simpler times. I don't think it's just being a simple-minded child with no responsibilities and whatnot. I think there's something more to it where the world just passes you by or is starting to look like it's passing you by in some certain way. I think, the technology, the way things have changed in the past 20, 30 years, I think has left so many older people in the dust. And I think that's a big driver of simpler times. I think there's nostalgia is driving it, right? I think you said nostalgia. I mean, it's
yourself.
You know what? Go on, Matt. Nostalgia.
well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about nostalgia. And I think you're right. There's plenty of studies proving that we are living in better times, in general terms than whatever area you want to talk about, 50s, 80s, whatever. I mean, just from a war, famine, information perspective, just pestilence.
Oh,
yeah, we are, in general terms, we are living in better times now, but I understand why people say this phrase that you hate. John?
Yeah, that was the point I was going to bring up, was like, right now is like the safest, best time to be alive in all of human history. And like, what's craziest is like people being nostalgic for the 50s who weren't even alive then. Like,
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, exactly.
Like, and then, not to get political, but like, like the Make America Great Again stuff is like, can you tell me exactly what time in the past the greatness occurred and what's different about now that's making it less great?
And when did it end exactly?
Yeah.
I didn't put those two things together, but you're absolutely right. Make America Great Again is feeding off of this whole idea. It absolutely is. But actually, you brought up people not even living in the 50s, nostalgic for the 50s. Like, I think I've even done this too. Like, there is something coming off of World War II where America just thrived, right? You had You had single income households prospering, right? The middle class was as great as it's ever been. You had people making enough money to feed their family and have two cars and go on a vacation a couple times a year, and that was it. And something did change. So I get all that. The 50s was totally different. I understand where that's coming from.
Actually, like I saw something this was a while back talking about the Simpsons, how like when the Simpsons started, they were a poor family, yet he was supporting three
Oh,
kids on a single income, and it like they have like two cars or something like that, and like
Mhm.
yeah, all this stuff, and like that's just unimaginable right now.
Yeah,
giant
yeah.
house, giant yard.
Yeah.
That's great.
See, we're all pining for simpler times right now in a way.
uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something that it's not gonna go away. You know, yeah, people are always just like, oh, if only this and that. I mean, is that part of it? The offshoot? No, where they're like, oh, you can't do this today. You know, like
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
always dumb.
yeah. Oh God, that might be like side B of this whole topic someday. I don't know.
What about like the technology thing though? Like, like all the kids these days have to deal with like social media and all that stuff. And like we didn't have to deal with that stuff. Like, um, I think that causes a lot of harm and like weird dynamics that just we didn't have to be concerned with
I
growing
I
up.
totally agree with that. I don't know where to take that, but I think you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of people realize how harmful social media is, especially for kids. I've kind of put a little bit of thought into, my kids are going to be that age soon, about what the heck I'm going to do about regulating the internet for them and everything that goes into it. But that's a gigantic topic. Yeah.
Wow. No, no, no. The previous episode was the deep one. We're not doing that
Well,
here.
we're angling in that direction.
Uh,
Vince, you were going for like, what were you going for? Oh, you can't do certain things these days. I don't know if you want to get into a discussion about that or we should save that. But, uh, I think one thing that I hear constantly is that TV show couldn't be made these days, or that movie couldn't be made
all
these
right,
days, or
yeah.
whatever it is. And I forget who, but somebody put it really well, Seth Rogen or somebody, just like, yes, you can do all those things these days, but you have to put it in the context of today. You need to make little jabs at the way things are perceived these days. You're not going to make it exactly like they made it back then. You're going to do it differently. But yes, you can absolutely do anything that they did back then.
Yeah, that's a good one. Someone else said was like, yeah, you wouldn't do that today because it's already been done or something like that. There's no need. You hate reboots. What you're wanting is a reboot, something like that. It was well put.
But yeah, I mean, like people say that about like The Office and stuff, and like Always Sunny is still making new episodes these days. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
South
Yeah.
Park.
yeah,
South Park, yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's like back then, people understood that your lead character doing thing did not mean you were endorsing it, and that's still the case.
Yeah. Does it feel like you have to be more thoughtful these days? It feels like you have to be more thoughtful, not to not necessarily to offend anyone, just you have to approach things a little bit more carefully maybe these days. But
I mean, you don't even have to though. Like, look at like Rick and Morty, where these kids watch it and they're like, "Oh yeah, Rick is awesome. I'm gonna be like Rick." Like, that's obviously not the intention of the show, but they're not like going out of their way to like say that, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, but then I don't. Gosh, damn it, we're not supposed to get this expansive. But I was gonna
no,
say,
you can
like,
save it.
think of all the fucking Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, where they're like, oh, you can't say anything. They'll cancel you. They're not canceled. they do shit. They say terrible
Right.
shit, you know? So I just, oh my gosh, that's tiring. But again, this is light, like a mist, guys.
Hmm.
A little perfume. We walk through it. That's what this episode is.
Is it? Because I want to talk about
Oh no, he's
um
pivoting. He's pivoting.
I want to talk about how doesn't it suck whenever you have a little spark of joy in life, something always brings you back down and inevitably we're all leading towards our demise and there's just blackness and nothingness and no, I'm not going to do that. Is it my turn? Is it my turn?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Okay, my turn. My love is I love the idea of trading Aaron Rodgers for you NFL or Green Bay Packer fans. It's time. It's time. And I think a lot of knowledgeable Packer fans realize it's time. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to moan and complain if this sort of thing happens, but it is definitely time. I understand why you couldn't do it last year or the year before because he was the MVP, but now I think we're back to reality where we keep putting the same. I say I hate when sports fans do that. So the Green Bay Packers keep.
Are you a shareholder?
I am not a shareholder. No.
Oh, you're not? Oh,
Whoa,
that surprises me.
No. So Packers put out a similar team every single year and they never get it done in the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers is part of that. As much as people want to say it's the defense, it's the defense. If Aaron Rodgers would play like an MVP in a playoff game, there would be a couple more Super Bowls. But the time to win a Super Bowl was, well, the year before that, 2020 and 2021, and it didn't happen. And the contract is set up in such a way where the dead money going on the salary cap isn't going to be too bad this year. But if you wait until next year, you're going to be in a world of pain from a salary cap perspective and hanging on to other players. And from Jordan Love's perspective, the backup quarterback, it's time. He's been sitting on the bench for 3 years. It's time to see what the guy can do. And he's either going to sink or swim, but it's time to see what he can do. Having Aaron Rodgers on the team next year isn't going to make that much of a difference. It might make a difference between a 500 year and making the playoffs or something like that, but I've seen enough to know it's time for Aaron's sake and for the Packers' sake. It's time to trade Aaron Rodgers. And there is a lot of speculation out there about it. And I'm buying into it. I think it's going to happen and it should happen. Anybody have any opinions on this?
But okay, really quick. He doesn't have to leave, right? Like you just said, like if they don't, it's going to suck. So this is like a possibility. Like this is your love. Your love is a flight of fancy. Like he might not even leave. Like this, I feel like this is a first, is what I'm getting at.
Well, I think there's a decent chance he's going to leave. And he's even made some public comments that he's willing to go to the right team. And there's plenty of good teams out there that just need a quarterback. I mean, the NFL is a quarterback-strived league. Even though some teams think they've got quarterback figured out, inevitably there's a bunch of teams that don't have quarterback figured out, and we see that every single year. So he seems to be willing to move on, and there's some smoke to the fire. The Packers seem willing to move on, and they drafted Jordan Love in the first round, and they may not come out and tell us that they believe in Jordan Love or they don't believe in Jordan Love, but what they do with Aaron Rodgers is going to tell us what they think of Jordan Love. So history repeats itself because the same thing happened with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, however many years ago it was. I'm not saying Jordan Love's going to be the next guy, but he needs a chance to be the next guy.
The other thing is, are you like, okay, Aaron, you have to go? Or are you going to be like, well, I'll still watch your personal performance on whatever team you go to? Or are you just really like, you're done with him? You don't think he has what it takes, or what?
I would cheer for Rodgers a bit. If the Packers are out of the playoffs and Rodgers is in the playoffs, I would root for Rodgers just, from that legacy perspective. If he can somehow pull off another Super Bowl win, it's going to go a long way for for, putting him in the greatest quarterback of all time discussion, although that's Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers is not gonna topple Tom Brady, but it would put him higher up the list, So there's a legacy aspect. I would root for Rodgers to a certain extent. Sure.
How many rings does he got?
One. And that
One.
was 2010. So we're talking 12 years ago.
The Steelers?
They beat the Steelers. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
I think I
yes.
saw that. Yeah.
And he was a young man back then, and it looked like the start of a dynasty, and it did not work out that way. So many heartbreaking playoff defeats later. They just have not gotten it done, and part of that's on Aaron, as much as people don't want to admit that or don't want to analyze those games or those playoff defeats. It's on Aaron as well.
Wow.
Do you think his views on vaccines and whatnot have made him more or less beloved by Packer fans?
I don't see how that answer can be anything other than less beloved. That's a polarizing topic as it is, for whatever reason. I don't know why that even had to be a political thing, but yeah, definitely. And he is, a lot of times something new will come out where people like to label Aaron Rodgers as this diva and selfish but he's a guy that's going to say what he wants to say, and he's very measured about what he says. But yeah, he's definitely polarized a lot of people over the past couple of years, not just the vaccine stuff, but there's been various things.
He lost my vote as soon as he dated Olivia Munn. I was like, you bastard.
That was your girl?
Should have been yours. Is that the problem?
Yeah, I was on my way to G4, man, but he swooped in. John, you were from Wisconsin, and it's been a while since you've lived here, but do you give a damn?
I mean, not really. I was into football for a few years because my boss was really into it, and
you were trying to work your way up the ladder.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was just more like when I worked with people at my job who were into it, it was just more a thing like, oh, I want to be in on these conversations on Monday and stuff. And now where I work, like nobody cares about it. So it's like, oh, I don't have to care anymore either.
Yeah, I've always loved football, and even as a kid, I was a big 49ers fan back in the day when I was a wee lad, because Packers weren't any good, but I loved me some Jerry Rice and Joe Montana, Steve Young. But Packers fans have been spoiled for over 30 years. Well, 30-ish years. Yeah, just nobody's had a run of quarterbacks like that in the history of the NFL. But
I know your precious 49ers knocked the Packers out of the playoffs quite a few times. So,
and that did happen. They are not my precious 49ers anymore. I want to be clear about that. But yeah, for the long term health of the Green Bay Packers, it's time to move on.
Wow. You know what? If we ever dated and we had to break up, you would do a very good breakup speech. You really laid it down there.
For my long-term health, I need to move on. For your long-term health, I'm sorry. It's over.
But you've been spoiled for 30 years.
You've been spoiled for 30 years.
All right, moving on to Jarn.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this is one more likely to make me sound like a horrible person, but I'll go for it. I hate like the awkward daily interactions you have with people who, like you see them all the time, but there's like no benefit to them or you to like get to know them or anything. And like I don't think they're interested in it. I'm not interested in it. So I'm talking about like the building I work in. There's like people who sit at a security desk that you have to walk by. And like my ideal would be to just like I'd walk by, they don't make eye contact with me, I don't make eye contact with them. We just pretend each other don't exist. And like I've developed that relationship with some of the people who work that job, and it's great. But like other people, like they want to say like, oh hey, good morning, how's it going? And like like I can handle that too. Like, oh yeah, good morning, have a good one, and you move on. But what I really struggle with are like the people who like really want to like strike up a conversation, to the point where like if I like so like I'll go into the office, have to walk past the security desk to like go to the fitness room before work and stuff. And then like depending on who it is, I might like walk back a different way in order to like not have to walk past the overly friendly people. And like I don't dislike the people, like I think they're nice, great people, but I just do not like those kind of interactions. Like I feel awkward. Like I'm like, should I engage them more? Should I like really get into like, oh, how stop and talk to them? How are you doing? Like, what are your hopes and dreams? Or
Is it about matching their enthusiasm? You're just not that guy, really? Like you don't get excited?
yeah, I mean that's definitely part of it. And it's like I don't know, like it's just not like, are they actually into like talking to everybody, or are they just like bored, or are they just trying to be friendly and like they don't really care at all either? I have no idea.
But why would that be? That's interesting that you brought up. Like, do they really want to know or are they bored? Would that make a difference to you?
um I guess not.
I've kind of wondered how all this works as well. How does human interaction work exactly? I consider myself a very introverted person, and there's extroverted people, but I think if you go to the definition, like an introverted person, well, this isn't the definition, but they
Someone who does the same thing over and over again.
I was actually going to do that for the Packers, and I forgot to put it in there. But so an introverted person, like there's a certain amount of stuff they can say throughout the day before they're totally exhausted. Like I can't keep going. But I think like in my perspective, it depends who I'm around. I can talk and interact, just fine with certain people, but it's a challenge with
certain people. Yes, that's the key right there.
Well, I mean, if you know someone or you have some sort of connection with someone, it's easier to be extroverted. It's easier to bring that side out. But yeah, I'm pretty terrible at small talk. I don't know if this is a small talk thing, John, but it sounds like these people want to have more in-depth discussions than just small talk.
No, I mean there was only one person who actually seemed to want to get even into the level of small talk. And then I was glad when he wasn't working there anymore.
I like that you go out of your way to avoid these people when you can.
For most of it, it literally just is like, hey, good morning. All right, have a good one. And even that I don't like, but I can tolerate it.
You know what? I would call myself a born again extrovert. I am genuinely interested in talking to people because I am bored in life. I fucking know my shit, but I don't care anymore. Like life. I don't know if
I thought we weren't going to get so heavy.
What's going on? Where I'm like, no, I mean, hey, whatever it is that you just did, I already know what I did. I don't give a shit. You could ask me if what I did, but I'm like, what'd you do? Maybe there's something there, you know? Maybe I could crack a joke about, oh, I bought some eggs. I'm like, oh, eggs. And then come up with something, you know? Yeah. So I think that's kind of how I feel because yeah, let's get dark a little bit. My default setting for a long time was like slipping into like a depression. And I once realized that, and I'm like, I gotta put these mental notes at all times. And one of them is just like, hey, there's someone. It's fucking, what's up? You know, tell me anything. Because I know my shit. Yeah. Yeah, that was dark.
I
Deep.
found that I find that fascinating because I don't know that I've ever had the urge to just approach someone just because I need them to tell me something different. You know, just tell me something that's not part of my life, you
Break the
know.
monotony. Yeah. I mean, maybe,
Well,
maybe, maybe I don't need it if I'm like reading a good book or something like that. But like if I'm just, I don't know, people can be interesting. Yeah.
hmm. I mean, I do find some people to one of John's points, some people extroverts, they just love to talk. They'll just talk about anything. And there is something there where you really don't connect with them, but you just let them keep talking. And I think maybe that's kind of what John's going for there. And yeah, I find that pretty exhausting. Like, why are you still talking in my brain? Just why are you still going? Um, Maybe I do want to interject something and I'll say one sentence and then they'll continue on. I don't know how often this happens or if it's happened anytime recently, but yeah, I have had those type of things happen.
And that's definitely a thing, but I'm also like highly suspicious of anyone who's like interested in my life or what I'm up to. I'm like, no, there's not really a reason for you to care about that. Like, what's your angle?
Well, I think, I mean, that's, what do I want to say? That's small talk 101, right? You just ask somebody questions, right? Or trying to get beyond small talk. You just ask somebody a question and depending on their answer, maybe you can riff off of their answer and add to it. And then you spark some sort of connection. Or if the first question doesn't work, you ask them another question. So I would guess that's kind of what's going on. Somebody's just probing and trying to find a connection, right?
Yeah. So the worst was, remember before you could cash checks with your telephone? Um, and you would like had to go to the bank to cash checks.
Yeah.
They I think the bankers were like taught to like ask people about their lives, and I hated it. Like, oh, so yeah, what are your weekend plans? I'm
Oh God.
like
Mm.
nothing.
The weekend. Yeah. The professional dialogue back and forth. I think you'll kind of, yeah, I don't know that they're taught that, but I think people, you know, you go to a doctor's office or a dentist office or the bank, as you said. Yeah. And some people have that certain dialogue, just like, okay, what are you doing with the rest of your day? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing with the rest of your day? Well, I'm going back to work, I guess, right after this, you know. Yeah, I kind of understand that, but some people like to talk, I guess.
I thought you were going to just in general, like having to interact that are awkward no matter what, it seems. I don't know. For me, it's the checkout, you know. As soon as we got self-checkouts at stores, I was like, holy shit, this is a new era right here. And then even as bad as I would drive to a Subway, there's only one around here that has a drive through and it's touchscreen. You don't even have to talk to fucking human beings. It's fantastic. Yeah.
But how can I tell them to put 10 times the amount of spinach on my sandwich?
I
Can't do that on a touch screen.
keep smashing the spinach button, but all it does is toggle it.
Oh, and John, okay, so when people ask about you, do you think your life isn't interesting enough to want to get to know? Like if you were to open yourself up to a random ass stranger, would you be like, let's see here. What's a love? What's a hate?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's definitely like a self-esteem thing, like, you know, I don't want to talk to anyone who'd be interested in what I have to say. But
That's
it's
a
more like
joke. That's a joke. Actually, it's like I would never belong to any club that would have someone like me for a
yeah,
member. Yeah, yeah. That's
but
awesome.
it's more like the stuff I'm interested in are like, oh, you know, like what movies or music or that kind of stuff are you into? Not like um what, I don't know, like what kind of chores are you doing this weekend?
Isn't it kind of awkward starting to just coming up to someone and starting a conversation like, "Hey, what movies are you into?" I that's kind of weird. It's like you need something to lead off an interaction before you kind of dive into what are you into. Maybe that's where the struggle is. I don't know exactly.
Okay, so then no one tries to get personal with anyone. You guys aren't. You don't want to get probed, so you're not going to probe back, right? So that's
Well, yes, but I guess it depends on like if I like was at a social event with people I didn't know, it would be different because like, oh, we're here at this thing, you know, in theory to get to know each other, so let's do that. As opposed to like, oh, I um see you at the grocery store if I happen to go through your line every 3 weeks. Like, I don't think we're gonna, you know, exchange phone numbers after this or anything.
Hmm. Hmm. I think there's something to getting into a conversation though. Like if you're at an event, party or whatever where you don't know a lot of people and you feel kind of awkward on your own, and but there's all these groups, like people are talking in groups, so it's hard to just kind of butt into a group and listen and start talking. This is going beyond what the hell we're talking about, but you're talking about avoiding all of that, but I'm just trying to get into the psychology of why people want to start conversations or continue talking or whatnot. But the hell was I going with that? I don't even know where I was going with that. Sorry. Cut this out. Cut, 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 cut.
actually this all reminds me of something where I was like, is this going to be a topic? And then how do I don't know, John, you introduced books finally to this thing, right? Well, this
Mm-hmm.
was a book that I read in high school because I had terrible social anxiety. And it basically broke down like, why do people even bother talking to each other? What could you say to carry on the conversation? You know, I needed a manual to interact. So yeah, I think that's kind of where it comes from. Like it's not about you, it's about the other person. So you kind of have to do that dance, you know, as annoying as it is, you know. But then they also say like how you could approach that. And but yeah, that book, that's so funny. Well, this was
So,
a great episode.
well, you said you had social anxiety when you were a child, but you consider yourself an extrovert. Did you say a born again extrovert or something? Is
Yes,
that what you
born
said?
again. Yeah.
So you really feel like socially you've changed, or your just whole mindset has changed, where it's like, fuck it, I can go and talk to this person. It's not a big deal. And
I
even if I
mean,
say something stupid, it's not a big deal, you know?
oh no, the fear's still there. It's just I don't know. I still get anxious, but I try and go out of like I remind myself like, no, these aren't all going to be terrible. Like you just go and no one gives a shit about you. You're just kind of interacting in their little world, they're not like, oh my god, let's analyze everything this guy's saying to me.
Mm.
You're just there. I don't know.
But I guess that's my kind of point. Like that's I kind of think the people don't really give a shit if the people who come by them like about those people. So like if I knew like, oh, you know what? These are humans and they really get a lot out of you interacting with them. I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. But I just don't think that's the case. So are we both faking it on both sides and just wasting each other's time?
That's the dance, man.
It's the dance.
All right. I think we're done here.
That's that.
C'est la vie. Like, subscribe, comment. This was a few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And Matt Hagen. Self.